A very good evening to all who are present here today, and welcome to our 10th free webinar. And today's webinar is about FinTech, also known as financial technology. What is it and where is it going? So to start off with, I'd like to initially mark that this is our 10th free webinar, and we are extremely happy for your support and interest. So to start off with, for those who are joining today first with us, we are Pick a Course, and Pick a Course is about an education platform, and we have multiple services under our education. So starting under our services, starting from Pathway Center, free courses, student consultation, personal consultation, and many more. So basically whatever that falls under the roof of education is here with us. So to get to know more details about us, you can log into our website that is on www.pickacourse.lk, and to know more recent updates about our courses and our webinars, you can check out our social media pages on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, and yeah, so don't miss it, guys. Follow us and do keep in touch. So moving ahead with today's webinar, FinTech, and which is conducted by Dr.Samila Fernando. So I have the pleasant duty to give an introduction about Dr. Samila. So Dr. Samila Fernando has a vast experience in banking and finance industries for almost 2 decades, and he holds dual master degrees, one from MBA from Asia University and the other from MSc in Finance from Asia University, Malaysia. He is the pioneer of the move from traditional banking methods towards digital forms of financing in Sri Lanka. Continuously developed the career alongside the growth of fintech industry, and considering the contribution made towards the economy in Sri Lanka, being the pioneer in fintech industry, he was awarded a professional doctoral certificate by European International University, Paris. So he's also equipped and with impeccable commitment and dedication towards achieving the set goals. And today, Team Pick a Course is honored to welcome Dr. Samila Fernando to conduct today's session on FinTech. So Dr. Samila Fernando, the stage and the screen is all yours now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. As we have only limited time, so I'll be moving to my session, sharing my screen. Just wanted to tell you, at the beginning, this will be kind of a basic introduction about FinTech, but still, if you have any concerns, questions, you can always raise your hand, raise your voice, right? So we will somehow manage to give you the answer or the concern solutions within the time frame. So let me share my screen first, and then we will see what is the content I'm going to share with you today. So hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Super. Okay. So as she briefed about me, this is about me again. So as you all know that I'm a banker by profession. And I think most of the people you maybe know about me, like, the cash wagon. So I'm the one who introduced this P2P lending, we call digital lending to the market in 2016. So then thereafter, you see how the banks and financial sector, impacted with this new concept. So let's discuss in detail about what is. Just give me my. Okay, fine. So basically, I'm going to discuss with you today about the basic fundamental of FinTech and how it impacts in Sri Lanka and the challenges we may face in the future, and how our customers, our end users, gonna benefit from this FinTech in the near future with so many implementation. New initiatives. So this is about FinTech. FinTech, we all know as financial technology. So that is a short term of FinTech, right? So this include not only financial services, this include anything but everything. If you use a technology, if you use kind of a technology to do certain thing to improve your process and to give you more benefits and end-to-end, customers would be happy. Why they're happy? The way it was happened previously is like this, and now it's going to change to this level, And this will, of course, reduce your cost and your overhead costs, especially your overhead costs. And basically, the P&L will be impacted a lot when it comes to the indirect costing. So let us see the things that we will discuss, and we will see the future when it comes to fintech. So fintech, basically, you can see business process outsourcing, investment and capital market tech. So we have certain things: digital lending, e-commerce and marketing tech, and big data, I would say, insure tech, payment and settlements, HR tech. So there are many technology-based initiatives comes under financial technology, right? So anything but everything. So let me brief about this fintech and how it's gonna impact our lives, and how it's gonna be like, how it feasible for us to see this initiative in the market right now. So there are many examples in the market now in Sri Lanka. You can I mean, name any tech company, and nowadays they are moving ahead with the global fintech trends as well. So what is fintech? That's very important, right? That's where we're going to introduce the fintech to the market. So fintech, it says, it's very simple. Fintech is a term used for describe, yes, technology and industry encompassing and kind of a technology of financial services, anything from businesses to consumers. Fintech describes any company that provides financial services, anything, right, through software or the technology, and includes anything from mobile payment apps to cryptocurrency. So we had experiences like, few years back, we have mobile payment apps, we have wallets, we have e-commerce, right? So we have many things in the market, but those are traditional technologies which everyone use. So we have so many, like, payment partners, right? There are many mobile payment, apps. So from that to cryptocurrency, in between there are many. Example: digital lending, peer-to-peer lending, blockchain, and there are HR tech, insure tech. So subtech is supportive technology. Legal tech is legal, when you say, when you introduce technology to legal department, legal, application, it says legal tech. And reg tech, that is for like the central bank for the regulation. So there are many things in between mobile payments app to cryptocurrency, that everything is including fintech, right? So broadly, fintech describes any company using the internet, yes, mobile devices, software technology, or cloud services to perform or connect with financial services. So whatever the norms we say about fintech that use internet, of course, you need internet to do fintech services. That need mobile devices, you need smartphone, you need tab, you need, like, many advanced equipment, right? You need software technology, you need coding, so and cloud services. Now many industries in Sri Lanka, they haven't used any physical, like, servers, like physical, like, equipments to keep and to run their business. They use clouds. Example, we have Amazon, we have Google clouds, right? So we have many, we have in Sri Lanka, we have 3 data centers like SLT, Dialog, and Orion City. So there are many people who will be enter the market very soon to share their experiences to provide these fintech services. Okay, so let us go to next slide. Right. The 10 technology forces that matter. So this is very important for this 21st century, and even before that, I would say. These 10 technology forces that matters the financial services industry in a very broader way. What are those? Sorry. First thing, fintech will drive the new business model. Yes, wherever, whenever the banking and financial sector is there, this fintech will drive the next business module or models in the future. So that will be the next level of banking and financial services. Very simple. Second thing, the sharing economy will be embedded in every part of financial system. So I mean, if you call about, let's say, the GDP growth rate, let's say export to import gap. So these every terms when it comes to financial services is mainly in the near future will be impacted due to fintech. Example, Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. So these three countries, if you see, I mean, they use technology to every single industry, especially they use new technology to do this transaction through online, like, payment platforms, like, lending or P2P lending, which is very, very commonly used in these countries. So these countries have good economy and they have good GDP rate. So, and the cost of, let's say, cost of funds for any business is very minimal compared to other countries. Third thing, blockchain will shake things up. Yes. Now, I'll brief you blockchain a bit later, which is a very broad area. But blockchain in nutshell is how you're going to minimize your processors having one single place. So that means shared devices. So now let's say example, if two banks have customer data in two different places, right? So there are many customers who open banks account in every bank. So then there'll be customers information which is duplicated. Now what blockchain can do is all these customer data can be compiled to one place and shared on request for any banks. So that called kind of a blockchain initiative. Third thing, what is third thing? It says fourth thing, digital becomes mainstream. Yes. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry. So digital becomes mainstream in the sense what? Digital transformation now became the most common thing. I mean, it says everywhere digital is there. Simple as that. I mean, if you see the Pick Me app, the Uber app, and the way this traveling sector moved to in 1 minute. Sorry. So as I told you, this is the next level of business model in the future of Sri Lanka, even at the crisis. So we need more digital transformation initiatives than we do like manual processes. So we will discuss this as well. So the fifth one, customer intelligence. It says will be the most important predictor of revenue growth. You see that? I mean, everywhere now customers are very well educated. They know which service can be benefited by them and which is not. So if you use like any fintech services into your business model, or like fintech initiatives, these technology-based services, trust me, the customer, we said customer experience, user experience, it will be definitely delighted. So the customer will be retained with you and it will be impact your P&L at the end of the year. Sixth one, advances in robotics. It says robotics and AI. AI is the most common word in China these days. So how they use intelligence of different data sources. They know to understand and to capture customer data, even though when they are doing transactions through mobile phone or mobile app. So that much they improve their technology and they use AI to see the customer's behavioral pattern, their payment pattern, and they predict this customer can be a good or bad customer in the future in these areas, in this industry. So likewise, they are very advanced nowadays. Seventh one, the public cloud will become the dominant infrastructure model. This means open banking system. Now in Sri Lanka, you don't see this open banking system. I mean, that means every customer data, every Sri Lankan customer data will be in a public place, whereas anyone can access the data subject to client consent. So that's how India, they introduced Aadhaar system. That's why the Singapore have system to identify their customers through fingerprint, through like, face scanning. So likewise, there are many things which happen. Eighth one. So nowadays, when you see these, fintech services, what comes next is the cybersecurity, right? The hackers, or there may be data leakages. I mean, in Sri Lanka, if you see very soon, very recently, I mean, one IT company who keep this data, I mean, leaks certain data to the public, right? So that is where you need to understand to keep those data in a secured place with more security level. So very important that. Asia will emerge as a key center of technology-driven innovation. Yes, in Sri Lanka, you don't see these initiatives, but in India, in China, in Vietnam, in Indonesia, Malaysia, so likewise, there are many APAC countries who is already leading in front than the Europe countries. So in nutshell, with these two big giants like India and China, so Asia will be the emerge space for any other investors to come and invest, since that have very investor friendly environment to do these certain fintech like initiatives. So regulation will of course turn. I mean, end of the day, central bank is the one who control everything, right? So if central bank doesn't change themselves, if they can't change their approach towards regulation tech, then I mean, whatever we do in the initial way, initial point, it won't go as we think. Okay, right. So these are the big few numbers which I taken from the Google, right? So it says most disrupted financial services sector. See, up to 28%, it says business at risk by 2022, which is banking and payment sector. Again, so 28% of businesses at risk by end of 2022, which are in banking and financial sector. Up to 22% of business at risk by end of this year, which are in insurance, asset management, and wealth management. So imagine if banking and payments, insurance, asset management, or wealth management, if those business doesn't want to change their business approach to fintech.
I guess Dr. Samila is having some connection issues. Hold on. I think he'll be back in a few seconds. Dr. Samil just confirmed that he has some connection issues. Please hold on, guys. He will join us in a moment.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, guys. We don't have power here.
Yes, you're
Can you hear
audible.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Sorry. I'm sorry for the issue. So let me go back to the session again. Right. So it says, if I repeat again these two, make main key outputs, it says by end of 2022, 28% of business are at risk in banking and financial sector, and 22% of business are at risk, which are in the insurance, asset, and wealth management industry. So which is very bad, and they have to change themselves. Their approach should need to be changed as well. So the second point is 81% of the banking CEOs are concerned about the speed of technological change more than any other sector. See, I mean, they are still concerned about the change which they should do in fintech. I mean, the speed of this change. And the third one, institution will need to balance the need for separate change to bank transformation teams with the inevitability that digital will become the platform. See, now if you see in Sri Lanka, the banking and financial sector are now moving very fast to digital transformation, which is very good. Otherwise, people will, of course, think twice to select their banking partner for their transaction. By 2025, there will be 20 times more usable data than today. See, now today, 2022, by 2025, trust me, guys, there will be more data in the market than now, which can be used to build your certain products and risk models, like advanced AI models, blockchains, or fintech. Likewise, these data will be more usable than right now. So there are two, these things. So the last one, I mean, some of the banks already use AI to detect payments fraud. That's very important. I mean, if you see nowadays, the frauds which happen actually are physical, human interaction falls, right? Now that has to be investigated by audit department. I mean, physical auditors. But nowadays, or in the future, with fintech technology, AI will definitely detect the fraud before it happens. So that's what need to be done in the first place. I mean, once fraud happened, it's already happened. But before it happened, we must detect the fraud. So that is where the fintech is useful to do this kind of activities and to prevent the fraud for financial services sector. So these are the things that I took from Google as you need to be concerned about knowing fintech in detail. Let me move to next slide. So this is one subsector of fintech. So we call P2P lending, peer-to-peer lending, right? So this is basically done by a platform like we did in Cashwagon. Now there are many business entities in the market who do the same business model. So which connect the lender and the borrower. Very simple. So these platforms are connecting the lender to the borrower and vice versa. So how it works is, this platform is the one who is responsible to evaluate the customer, getting the customer information which lenders required, and knowing the customer, I mean the KYC. So everything done by this platform, but end result, that customer and the borrower, or the borrower and the lender, is going to meet through this platform. They don't see each other. So this platform will be facilitate the transaction which has to be complete through this platform, and lender and borrower will agree to terms and conditions after that. So this is basically a kind of a lending product. We call it payday loan. Sometimes we call installment loan. We call EPOS loan. So there are many, loans which can be disbursed through these platforms, which are purely digital lending products. So there is no, we don't take signatures. We don't take any documents. We use only data Sometimes we use customer data in detail to evaluate customers, like, rateability. So likewise, this is purely done through digital platforms. That is the simple way of P2P lending. So let's see what is P2P lending. Peer-to-peer lending is a form of direct lending of money to individuals or businesses without an official financial institution. Here, there is no bank or finance company. And this deal is done through this platform. See, P2P providers in the middle, lender and the borrower is in the other side of the circle. So this is the simple way of telling or explaining to you all what is P2P lending. Fine. The second, this is in detail. This how this P2P works is in detail. Now, if you see, when you see 1, 2, 3, and there is up to, I think, 6. So just see, first one is application sent through platform. See, borrow send the loan app through the platform. Then the credit evaluation done from the platform. Then there are investors, which are like, people who have money, excess money, who invest through these platforms. So those investors can see these loans requests, and they can invest their money by picking certain customers or customer. So basically, this whole process will take about 1 hour maximum if the technology are used. If this system is happening in the world, in Sri Lanka, with my experience. So in my previous workplace, we disburse the loan. Time for disbursement is very, very important, right? We disburse a loan to a customer within 1 hour. Within 1 hour is our time for disbursement. That is new loan. But for repeat sale, next loan, third loan, fourth loan, we disburse within 10 seconds. So the time for any transactions is matters when it comes to fintech. If you see current banking and financial sector, let's say these big giants in the market, I don't think that they can disburse a loan within 1 hour. That's kind of an impossible thing for them. That's where we need to introduce fintech in detail. Everything should need to be changed from scratch to next level. So if the bank can evaluate the customer through the scoring model, through the crib reports, I would say, whatever the data they have, then they don't need to worry about getting signatures of customers like physical signatures. We must use digital signatures as much as we can, and we must reduce the customer contact or touch points. Why? Even if you are the customer, if I am the bank, if I given you a time like this loan can be approved in 2 weeks, right? But you need the loan as soon as possible to spend your kids' education, to buy medicine. So likewise, there is an urgent requirement, right? If a bank want to take 2 weeks to give you a confirmation of your loan application, so the requirement is already gone, right? So that's why I repeatedly saying that this fintech you need to understand that's not traditional banking and services. It is something that we call next level banking, next level lending, next level transaction, I would say. That include every single fintech initiatives to cut down the cost, to cut down the time. So those two are very important when it comes to transformation. So this is in detail how this works, right? So this is very simple. If you want to have example, you can of course try these platform called Mintos. You can write down this platform Mintos and Twino and Periberi. There are many P2P platforms in the Europe countries, but in Sri Lanka you can see some companies like Cashix. There are LoanMe, we call RoboCash. There are many companies who do the same business model in Sri Lanka. But if you want to know about more detail, in depth detail, try to use these names and search in Google. You can find out more info about P2P lending. Okay, so this is just an example, right? So why digital transformation in financial sector is important. Now, as I told you, right, the blockchain is the latest introduction to fintech. I mean, fintech, we used to call about peer-to-peer lending, payday loans, installment loans, e-post loan, and we have virtual credit card, virtual card. So those are some sort of transactional based technology initiatives. But blockchain is not only about transaction. You can see blockchain is something that we can use to, I mean, ease your business. Like, in one example. So if you see the for fifth record sharing and storage, as I told you, now there are few banks in the market through one like platform which are connected to these 4 banks, which keep records of the customers, I mean KYC records and AML records. So whenever customer want to open up an account, let's say A, B, C, D, there are 4 banks, and A bank have 1 customer, and that customer want to open up account in B bank. So B bank doesn't want to take the information from customer again. B bank straight away can take the documents or info from this blockchain, our shared recording storage. So that can be easily shared through an API, we call it, through integration. So that's called the real blockchain, which reduces the paperwork and the time for any transaction. 4th thing, sorry, the next thing, crypto banking. But right now, digital currencies, DCs, are not legalized in Sri Lanka, but you can see many players are doing this crypto. And Bitcoin are there, like Binance are there, but nothing still legalized in the market. But still, this cryptocurrency is used by many businessmen or consumers. Why? That gives you more benefits than you investing money in fixed deposit. But be careful. I mean, not in Sri Lanka, but there are countries like Mexico, Dubai, I mean UAE, Malaysia, Indonesia. So those countries have regulations. That's very good. But right now in Sri Lanka, we discuss a bit later, for fintech services, there is no regulation still as of now. So in any way, so there are 14 ways blockchain will transform banking. So what are those 14 ways? I have okay. Fine. So interbank transaction, remittances, smart contract enforcement, which is loan agreements, crypto banking, record sharing and storage, which I told you about KYC and AML documents, clearing department, the checks transactions, loan syndications, regulation, KYC, AML in detail, like reporting, trade finance. So there are many ways that blockchain can use for banking system to smoothly the process, right? Okay, so let's move to the other one. So now we need to understand what is the fintech ecosystem, right? So this is something that we still don't have, but other countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia, they do have it, and India as well. So what is fintech ecosystem means? It means collectively financial services companies, fintech startups, government, investors, financial institutions, and regulators form an ecosystem. So this ecosystem have everyone. I mean, fintech startups are very important. Government, and central bank is very important. Investors need to be there. Existing like banks and finance companies. So this ecosystem should have everyone. It can be traditional banking, institution, or it can be fintech. So everyone should need to be in this ecosystem to say that this is the fintech ecosystem, right? So all these players commit to innovate, spur the economy, promote collaboration to profit customers in the financial industry. The fintech ecosystem is vital for the technological innovation that can make financial systems and markets more efficient. As I told you, why Indonesia, why Vietnam, why Philippines, why Singapore, and why Hong Kong is more efficient than us is that they use technology. They use fintech than us. They use everywhere. If you see, they use technology. They use fintech. So that's why they have good fintech ecosystem than us. Even we don't have any fintech sandbox. Even central bank doesn't introduce anything as of now to initiate this fintech ecosystem, which is a very must thing for us to have it in this crisis situation. I mean, why? This fintech ecosystem can introduce new opportunities for investors, and central bank, of course, can ease the regulation to certain things, to certain level, like exchange control department instruction. So that's why we need somehow to have this fintech ecosystem in Sri Lanka to bring more investors to market now, right? It says, however, establishing and nurturing an ecosystem of fintech is difficult, provided the level of sustain that is required by the government. I mean, if you don't get support from government, right, and entrepreneurs, I mean, if the banks refuse to come and join with this ecosystem, then if you still have fintech startups or investors, but if you don't have other players, it won't be a successful fintech ecosystem. So basically, in a nutshell, you need to have everyone. It says collectively, everyone should need to be part of this fintech ecosystem to say this is a successful fintech ecosystem, right? Okay. Now, to have ecosystem, so there are fundamental components, right? You can see it's only technology, but without talent, without capital, without demand, without policy regulation. I mean, if you still have technology, you still have investors, but if you don't have these four components, right? Talent is the human factor, I would say. The capital is the money you require to develop an ecosystem. Demand, I mean, if there's no demand for fintech, you can't have fintech ecosystem. You must have demand for an ecosystem. And there must be some policy regulation, and central bank should need to be a part of that. That is must. So policy regulation are very important. Demand should need to be there. Capital is very important to have any ecosystem or any business, and the talent. If you don't have talent, if you don't have people to put this system to next level, if you don't have skillful people to transform this fintech transformation, then you cannot have fintech ecosystem, right? So the period, once again, talent, capital, demand, and policy regulations are very important. Those are the components which is very important to have an ecosystem. Right. So key elements to create a successful fintech ecosystem. This is just a briefing. No? I mean, as I told you. So when you say key elements, what are those? It says media, non-banks, industry association. I mean, there are many, SIMA, SIM, CMI, so everyone is there. Bank, infrastructure providers, IT software industry, strategy and technology consultants. So I mean, there are many. I mean, of course, with all these people, all these stuff, you can create a successful fintech ecosystem. So I mean, you can see who are they. I mean, everyone should need to be part of this fintech ecosystem, which is currently not even close to this in Sri Lanka, right? I mean, if you ask me a question, is it happening in Sri Lanka? No, there's no such initiative up to now by any government institution to form a fintech ecosystem. We hope, at least now with the crisis situation, which we need more investors these days, we must need to create a fintech ecosystem by end of 2022, at least, to get the results by end of 2023, right? Okay. So in the world, right? Fintech landscape development in the world. I'm just wanted to share with you certain examples as well. So right now, so what are the things which impact the fintech landscape in the world? So it says first, artificial intelligence will drive massive value creation. I have told you about this. AI will be the most dominant thing in the market very soon when it comes to banking and financial sector. Blockchain will disrupt established financial protocols. Yes, some protocols already established by banks will of course be disrupted by blockchain, since blockchain is a concept we call shared, like, you know, not centralized, not decentralized, but centralized. Sorry. So it reduces the cost as well as your paperwork as well. Cloud computing will liberate. Yes, I mean, as I told you, I mean, if you still use servers, if you still use IT infrastructure, like, you know, like many infrastructures, you need to understand this cloud computing, cloud services will be the next level of banking and financial sector, since that will of course enable you to access data as soon as possible as well. Okay. Big data. So one thing about big data now, and as an example, so how we use the big data in my previous project. So we even taken care of each customer data. Even if a customer, like, you know, applied a loan 3 or 4 times within a day, if customer, like, you know, dropped the filling of fields in let's say by 30 seconds, so even we calculate the number of seconds customer taken to fill each and every field. So that is where data is very important. That data can give you crystal clear information about your particular customer data and the prediction as well. Open banking API, right now it is under discussion, but this will enable us, any of Sri Lanka, you know, company with the client consent, you can, before you do a service, before you do let's say before you quote anything to customer, before you do a service to customer, like bank, you know, financial service sector, FDs, or even loans, any of institution with a client consent, you can see customers historical data and can decide based on those data whether this customer is good or bad for them or not. Blockchain, as I told you, blockchain will be the dominant thing in the market very soon in Sri Lanka as well, which will change the banking sector to next level with this centralized systems. Cryptocurrency, question mark. I mean, in Sri Lanka, I don't think that they will regulate this since it's a bit risky. Since central bank digital currency should need to be introduced first. That's why India like, you know, they put some regulations for cryptocurrency, and the market is now going down, but very soon it will be catch up very soon. But it's a very risky thing to invest. Why? In Sri Lanka especially, there's no regulation. Digital lending, we discussed this with topic, like it says peer-to-peer lending. P2P lending is other word for digital lending as well. So, I mean, mobile app payments, wallets, e-commerce, so those are the 9th one. I mean, settlements and payments come at the end of the fintech, since everything done before that is to onboard the customer, or, you know, get the customer on board their platform or their fintech, you know, services. But settlement and the payment is comes on the end service of the fintech landscape. Okay, so just a rough idea about how digitally active consumers are there in the globe, right? If you see, China is leading up front, you know, they are the one who dominate in the market with fintech initiatives. Second, India. I mean, if you see these two giants are, you know, leading at front, then the Asia, of course, became the first hub when it comes to fintech. But UK, Brazil, Australia, Spain, Mexico, I mean, on average, 33% of the global population or the consumers are using fintech services right now after 2021, right? So this will be changed by end of this year. And if you see with the COVID-19 and this you know, global crisis, people start moving towards fintech since it's very cheap. They of course start, you know, using these fintech services to do their, you know, transactions. Why? it's very cheap, and it's very speed as well. I mean, those two factors now matters for consumers before they decide which platform they will use for their transaction. So, which means fintech will dominate the world very soon. And why is that? It's about the speed and how quickly you can take those transaction, and how you can complete those without you going physically there for the banks and finance companies, right? I mean, these are some example for you guys. As I told you, Singapore is the fintech hub in Asia. So these are the fintech startups, or the fintech landscape. I mean, how many fintech companies are there, and how successful are they, right? So you can see there are many. I mean, if you see, there are RegTech, there are InsurTech, there are personal finance, payments, neobanking, remittances. So they have many brands who are into fintech in Singapore. In nutshell, every year there are 300 plus new fintech startups enter to the market as well, which means Singapore is the fintech hub for Asia. Why is that? I mean, there's good support from the government for these fintech startups, and there are many reliefs like tax concessions for the startups as well. So if you are into fintech, there are many benefit for the investors. So that is the most important reason why these people are going to Singapore, right? Then this is Malaysian fintech map. So if you see, like, there are many payments, there are 50 top 50 is there, remittances top 16 is there, AI data top 8 is there, marketplace lending top 8 is there, lending like P2P lending, digital lending, you can see. I mean, those lending companies, I mean, see, there are 37 good companies. When you compare Malaysia, there are more than 1,000 lending companies in the market. E-wallet, prop tech, which is nowadays we call real estate tech, that is property tech, right? Islamic fintech, very very famous in Malaysia. There are many Islamic people as well, right? InsurTech, crowdfunding, which is kind of a platform that you can invest your money and get return like banking deposits. Okay, blockchain, cryptocurrency, 15 companies are there on top. Wealth tech, regulation tech, regtech. So there are many fintech startups or fintech companies every day, every year, which are listed in their fintech ecosystem, right? So this is what last year numbers, top companies, I would say. Hong Kong, see, this is Hong Kong, fintech landscape. So as usual, they have InsurTech, they have RegTech, they have Wealth. So there are many tech companies under fintech form their business in Hong Kong as well. And Hong Kong is the first country who use digital lending, application like mobile applications than other countries, since they are very advanced in using AI. So very good to see that these fintech startups are there in Hong Kong as well, being the Chinese colony, but now they are very good at introducing new fintech startups within their fintech landscape and the ecosystem. So as a world, I mean, top fintech companies in the world, right? So this is in the world, right? I mean, if you see accounting and finance, capital markets, personal finance, POS, consumer lending, RegTech, real estate technology. So there are few companies in the market who's doing really well, and very very bad to see that there is no banks in this list. Only few banks or payment providers who are still struggling to be to dominate the banking sector through fintech initiative. But if you still see in Sri Lanka, I mean, there is no such banks still we can say, or we can see that they use like big data, like AI or machine learning or nothing. They just use the digital like mobile wallet, the traditional banking systems to see the numbers. But very soon, if they don't change their approach, it will be the end of the story for them as well, since right now in Sri Lanka, the fintech companies are dominating. Okay, so the challenges that fintech industry faces nowadays in globe. So first thing, data security, yes, I mean, we need to understand once you say internet technology, it's come with this word called data security. So we must need to understand how to protect our data, right? Compliance and central bank regulation, that is the second worst thing. I mean, in Indonesia, they face like last year, their central bank introduced fintech sandbox. So that impact the current fintech companies, but and the startups as well. So now we need to understand, if you are going to introduce certain regulation, you need to be first thing investor friendly and as well as user friendly as well. End of the day. Third one, lack of mobile and tech expertise. You won't believe, my dear friends, in the world, you still see 1.5% fintech, like expert in the market. So imagine the other, like, let's say out of 30% of the total banking and financial sectors employees in the world, right? The rest of the people, they didn't even know about fintech. They don't know about fintech word. So that's a bad thing of fintech, in Sri Lanka as well. There is no expert in the market. Fourth thing, big data and AI integration. Now it's kind of a challenge. Why? Still some of the regulatory bodies doesn't allow to use this data through data privacy law. So sometimes you cannot use a big data, like all the data to evaluate customers. So you need to rely on certain regulation. So sometimes it may be a bottleneck for fintech industry, since the data is the most important factor in fintech ecosystem. Why? It's give you the picture of a client in nutshell. Blockchain integration, yes, still the regulatory bodies are just see whether this is required. In Sri Lanka, there is no regulation for blockchain, like cryptocurrency. So we need to understand somehow by at least next 3 years to complete this regulation before something worse happen, I would say. So sometime in Sri Lanka, if you see, user retention and user experience will be questionable things. Nowadays, even though we say that fintech is a fast growing sector in the world, but people still with lack of confidence to adopt these fintech, like technologies through services. I mean, they still want to do the typical banking thing. Effective marketing tactics, yes. I mean, nowadays we use more Google marketing, Google Cloud marketing, YouTube marketing, Facebook, TikTok, but it's a challenging thing in the market, since sometimes there are certain rules which is inbuilt for these marketing campaigns, which prevent us to do certain campaigns through those mediums, like Facebook. Facebook not allowed to do lending transactions, lending campaign. Sorry, unless it is more than 3 months long term. So if the long term is less than 3 months, Facebook, even Google don't allow to do any marketing campaigns, which is sometime for this fintech like P2P lending platforms will get effect by this, things as well. So these are the things that they are currently faced. So in Sri Lanka, right? In Sri Lanka, I mean, if you ask this question by yourself, just try to understand the answers as well. I mean, you see, in what ways has fintech impacted the local financials in Sri Lanka? I mean, if you see what are those services sector, if you just talk about banking and financial service, but I mean, are they really became fintech giants? Questionable thing, right? Second thing, how could the fintech sector contribute to Sri Lanka's economic growth? Right now, it's very minimal. But if you want to see a country like Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia and Vietnam, why Vietnam is growing really fast and why Sri Lanka couldn't do it is because of only one thing, is about the support from government. So Vietnam government is giving support to fintech to maximum, but in Sri Lankan, government sector or the central bank, still they are bit, still doing research, spending money to do like, introduce committees, sandboxes. So, but still nothing happened in terms of Sri Lanka's economic growth. But example, other countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, they are the one who impacted a lot through fintech services. Which fintech could be adopted to drive growth in the local sector? It's a question of much. I mean, we don't see any tech companies. We don't see any fintech, like many fintech companies. We don't see any tech or wealth tech. Let's say many tech companies. Only we can see mobile wallets, mobile applications, online banking. So that is not fintech. Fintech is something more than these payments or like mobile apps, right? We need to understand to introduce everything to the market now, not only mobile apps. Fifth one, did any governing body supported to boost the fintech sector? From my perspective, still there is no one who support this industry, but we hope at least by central bank next year they will put certain things to their roadmap, at least to support the fintech sector to boost the performances by next year. That is the prediction which I have, but don't know how it impact the fintech sector, since nowadays government is now focusing on something else, which is about the foreign reserves, right? But to improve the reserves, to invite investors, you need to have fintech services. I mean, that's where the people from USA, UK, Europe will come and invest money. They won't invest money for a bank or a company. So they want to invest a tech-based company, right? So that's what they think when it comes to fintech, right? So since I had only 1 hour, right? I hope I managed to how to say finish it within the time frame, right? If you have any questions, concerns, please ask now. I'll give you answers as per my knowledge. Over to you guys. Any questions?
Hello, Mr. Samila.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question actually. First of all, your session is like it's very comprehensive and like very insightful. My question is actually, I think Mr. Samila has left.
I think he's having some connection issues again. Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll check on him.
Okay.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you.
Sorry, my this power issue is gonna impact me a lot when it comes to fintech. Yes,
Please ask a question.
Yeah, my question is actually what kind of skills need to master in order to I am really interested in fintech and currently
Okay.
working as in a management information system. So like what kind of specific skills need to master in order to follow this path?
First thing, what's your good name? Sorry.
My name is Isuri.
Isuri. So Isuri, first thing, you need to be a kind of a change expert. To do a fintech kind of a thing in your business area, you need to understand the change management first. That's why there's a demand for change expert in the market. We call chief change officer. There are many things are there. So that is first thing. You need to understand. To do a change in your organization, you need to master the change management as well. Second thing, if you really want to implement a fintech, just need to understand the fintech and why fintech is need for us, especially what sort of fintech we can implement in the market nowadays. We will see many forces, challenges from the company itself. Why? It's a new thing and people won't ready to change as well. So you need to understand, and in-depth knowledge about fintech is very important. Why? As I told you, only 1.5% is the expert in the world. See, if you say Sri Lanka, it is more, less than that. So you need to be master of fintech and try to know about what sort of fintech is implemented as of now in the market. Do a case study and understand what is fintech is happening in the world and happening in Sri Lanka. And if you want to know about more fintech, you need to understand to go through the fintech ecosystem in the other countries as well. So as I shared with you, certain like countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Philippines. So try to understand how these countries implemented the ecosystem. And ecosystem is the basic or the first thing to implement in a country like us before we do any fintech initiative. So without ecosystem, you will be faced many challenges in the market as well. So I think first thing, you need to master of change management. Second thing, you need to understand the fintech in depth. To do that, you need to do a case study, not about Sri Lanka, but like Hong Kong, Vietnam, Singapore, and those countries in the APAC region, I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Samila.
No worries.
Yes. Do we have any more questions from the participants? I hope all good, right? Yes. So we have come to the end of the session, and I would like to thank the speaker for tonight, Dr. Samila Fernando, for conducting a great session, and the facts were insightful and a lot was new. Like I had very good idea of what it was after the session. So thank you a lot, Samila, and thank you for the participants. Thank you everybody for joining, and till we see you again in another amazing session like this. This is me, Bhavisha from Team Pick a Course, signing off. And yeah, thank you everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.